Pure Guts, Sophisticated, Divisional round episode. Cheers, boys. Big week of games ahead of us. I know you're sitting there thinking, whoa, Bopper moving up in the world or what? What's going on over here? Well, I'm proud and excited to announce that for the first time ever, Sophisticated is on the road. And for the first time, we take the podcast on the road. I figure, where else but the money pit? So, without further ado, I bring you Communications, live and in person.
What's up, fellas? Good to see you. I'm excited about this. Yeah. Cheers, my man.
Oh, cheers.
Boom.
And I know, Topper, I know what you're thinking. Oh, here we go. It's going to be 45 minutes of a fantasy football 69 session. It's not going to be the case. It's not going to be the case. We'll see. You just keep an ear out and keep an eye on it, and you'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it.
Pure Guts, boys. Playoff time. Big time. Big boys in it this week. The big boys.
Dogs got to eat.
The Eagles.
Okay, let's get right into it because it's going to take a bit. We got some in-depth analysis to bring you guys. Let's go straight back to last week, the wild card round. Now, we're going to start with number 5, Pollock, who took on number 12, Mangold.
House of Cards against the Sturgeon.
Yeah. Now, Mangold took down Pollock 134.9 to 127.3, as we all know. Kenton, Latavius Murray had 25. Kelsey had 22. Winston, Riddick, Eifert, decent scores. Devontae shit the bed, but didn't matter. His defense did well. 21 points from his D.
Yeah, I agree. I think he had a good game. And I mean, going back to last week's podcast when you said, Pollock, the House of Cards. And, I agreed with that also. I said whoever's, the underdog playing against Pollock in week 1, it was going to be a tough, he would have a good shot. And so, I think that kind of worked out as it is. Pollock, good job this year, getting through. Your season's over. Even a little bit of Pollocking couldn't help. As far as Mangold goes, I mean, yeah, I think you said it all. Murray had a big game, and he played well. He has some good players on his team. 2 good tight ends, and he was able to weather Devontae Adams shitting in the bed.
Yeah, and I mean with Pollock, Palmer actually had a good day for you. Blunt, Williams, Garcon had decent games, ODB, but 0 points from the tight end position.
Yeah, it's
not going to get it done.
And you know what? I was looking at this game, Bob. And there's one thing I noticed, and I don't like digging too deep in, and he had Kenny Stills in there that got 4.1 points, and if you just scroll down to his bench, he has, if he were to have thrown in his boy, not his boy, if he were to throw in Chris Hogan, you had 12 points to that, and never mind, he's still a little bit short. Anyways, disregard.
Well, how about a tight end off the waiver wire that could have put up 4, 5, 6 points
instead of 0 points? Yeah, that's a tough goal. Anyways, Paul, great season.
Yeah.
I think there's some moves you can make in the off season there, and maybe bounce back. It's gonna be interesting to see what Carson Palmer does. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean he's in the he's going to be in the market for a QB. There's no doubt about that. But I mean he's got a few holes he's got to fill, and he's got some guys in there that took him probably further than he deserved to go. He had some luck this year, so he's in a state of flux. But Pollock's always a competitor. We'll expect him to come back strong next year.
I'm going to touch base a little bit later in the podcast about, a potential trade that could happen or what makes sense and stuff like that. But for now, let's just, carry on.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to say one thing about Kenton that is, it's great GMing, but I worry about it is his adjustments week to week of his lineup. I mean, it says something to his depth, but at the same time, he's making some good calls, getting them right. That could end up biting him in the ass down the line. You want to have starters that you live and die with. Having these change-ups, especially when you're talking about the quarterback position, that's a make or break deal. And he's been doing good so far, but I don't know how long that can last.
And I agree with that very much. And I've said this a lot, and I've said it to some guys in my other league that have depth is your best friend during the regular season, and it's your worst enemy come playoff time. Unless you're unless you have some injuries and stuff like that. But like right now, if you look at that game, I mean, he started Theo Reddick over Todd Gurley. It ended up being a genius decision, and all throughout the season, it's been a genius decision. But who's to say next week that he starts Reddick over Gurley, and then Gurley finally becomes Todd Gurley and puts up 32 points, and that's the difference in the game. So depth is great in the regular season when you got bye weeks and then you got all sorts of matchups and stuff like that. But come the regular season, I find it can become a major problem. Anyways, yeah, carry on, Bill.
Okay. So there's a first road team win. 3 road teams won this week. Home field advantage did not play a role in any of the games. This was not an upset. This was the non-upset right here. Rebuild. Miracle. I find it funny. Rebuild and Team Lotto Core are like the fourth and sixth seeded teams in the league. You guys got to do some name changes there because you got good teams. So it'd be like me calling my team like I suck, but really.
Or Parkering 2016. Just carrying on, sorry.
I got to use it. I haven't taken advantage of Parkering 16. I always call him Ham Chop. I don't ever call him by what his team name is, and that should be part of the punishment. So I'm going to make sure I get to that. But
love you, Hammer.
Back to the game. Rebuild took down Hoff. Staffy had a big game. Fitz did his thing. Burflick had a huge game, 23 points.
2 INTs.
Yeah, I mean, other than that,
his kicker had 14. I don't know if you mentioned that. Sorry,
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't write that down.
14 points. Yeah.
So he had a good game. Ingram, Forte, Baldwin all had decent games, but those were the big hitters. Hoff, A-Rod, 22. You need more from A-Rod. Braid had a good game. Cooks is all right. Steve Smith was good. But I mean, Dion Lewis and Adam Humphries added up to 12.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that Hoff finds the need to start Humphries on a week-to-week basis. Yet he's only made 4 trades in Bjorkgård's history. I mean, the guy has all the picks in the world, and he never does anything. So I don't know. If you want to win Hoff, maybe just mix in a trade or two. I'm not saying that's the reason you lost or anything like that, because when you make a trade, you got to make good trades. But figure it out.
5-9 in the playoffs. I thought with his reputation that it would actually be worse. I did some digging, and actually I had the stats department do some digging, and he's actually 5-9 in the playoffs. Not too bad. He had a couple of runs where he made it to I believe the quarters, maybe even the semis, but he had a bunch of one and dones too.
Of course.
Okay, here we go. On to number 7, slots. And number 10, Parkering, 2016. So Parkering laid the boots to Slaughter. I called that. Actually, in my drunken podcast last week, I went 4-0. So maybe I should drink more often before I make my predictions. But Hammer laid the beat down on him, 153.6 to 128.2. Pretty much what I wrote here was, unless Slaughter gets a monster game from Luck and Evans, he's in trouble. He's got to have both those guys go for 60+ points, and then he's in the game. If not, there's just no other talent on the roster there.
Not one single bit of talent on the roster.
Mitchell had a good game. I mean,
Evans was a killer right there.
10 points from Evans. He needs 30 from Evans to be in a game.
Exactly. And Evans is on a roll too, man. You can really make the argument if you go through his numbers. Evans is one of the best wide receivers in the league, top 5. I mean, this season.
Oh yeah, I think he's definitely top 5, even higher. I think at one point he was number 1.
Yeah, for sure.
But
in a week that Slaughter needed him, and I mean, if you really look at the score here, the Slaughter needed him to put up 39 to have a shot. But anyways, in a week that Slaughter needed him, he let him down. Key start by Slaughter, starting Hightower, who put up a big whopping 1.9 points. Attaboy. And then he had Cole Beasley, which is, I don't blame him for the Cole Beasley. I mean, Beasley, some games with Prescott, and Prescott's actually kind of turning into and Dallas without you got your Elliott and you got Dak who can do whatever. but there's no real guy in Dallas that they're kind of turning into the Patriots. Is what I'm trying to say. You can't outside of
Predict.
Elliott,
You can't.
outside it's hard to predict who's going to put up points there. I mean,
Yeah.
Dez, he's doing well too. Witten, 1 week, I got Witten on my squad, so I'm always just like, Witten has a huge game 1 week, and the next game he literally gets 0. So they're kind of moving the ball around really well. They have a big run game.
And it's more about the run than it is the pass, obviously.
Absolutely. And, with Beasley, he might get you 17 points 1 week, but then he might get you 4.3 points the next week. Long story short, slots, you're done.
Hammer got 30 points out of Griffin and Halshka. So a kicker and a defensive end add up 30 points. Things are rolling when that happens in a given week. And I don't mean to bag on Slaughter's team. It's not terrible at all. I don't mean to make it sound like that.
I do.
But it's after the big two, he's reaching. He needs guys to have big weeks for their expectations in order for him to compete.
And, Andrew Luck put up 42.7, and he traded to myself. He traded Edelman and Cutler and Le'Veon Bell. So he bears a question. He doesn't have another quarterback on the roster. So with Cutler, he'd probably mean some tough sledding. But it was was that trade worth it? You got Luck and you got Evans, and that's it. Anyways.
He didn't even get Evans in that. He got Evans for me.
Well, I'm just saying that's who he has on his roster that is actually startable. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah. That's it for that game. Good game by Hammer. Big score. Freeman. Lockett had a huge game. Great game by Hammer there. And the final game on the docket was 8 versus 9. Township versus Watt.
I call this the apology game. Go ahead.
Why?
Well, because, I think I was, I got to apologize first and foremost to Powers. I thought that was the worst trade in, Pure Guts history. I didn't understand it. The Dak Prescott, Melvin Gordon for Amari Cooper. But looking back on it, I think it was a good trade for you, and I think it was a good trade for him. And I'm going to touch back to what I was saying, Pollock, he has some trades to be made on his squad right now. He's going to need a QB next year. You got Phillip Rivers, you got Dak Prescott. Powers, get to work. There's guys out there that are going to need a QB. You got a QB, a young quarterback, and you got Phillip Rivers. And you actually got a solid team with Melvin Gordon and, a couple other small pieces to that squad. You could actually, I'm not just putting 1 and 2 together. I'm just saying that Powers has some options right now where he can actually make a move and put his team into the conversation.
Well, he had a lot of good scores this year too. He was a good team this year. He was a above average team.
Howard.
It's to me though. I don't think he's going to get much for Rivers, and I think that having Rivers is. Now he's set for until Rivers retires. He's got 2 starting QBs that he can play in any week, and he's obviously got the quarterback of the future. So I mean, he's just got to draft well because he's got a lot of picks.
Let me ask you this: if you're 6-0 next year, Bopper, and Drew Brees goes down with a broken neck, they cut the roof off the Sky Dome to fly a helicopter and to airlift him out of there, and you got Phillip Rivers sitting there. Do you think you might overpay for him? You got options. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean in the right scenario, obviously that's a piece.
Yeah.
Post or off season, I doubt it. During the season, that's exactly when it could come into play.
We're just giving you tips here, Powers. We're figuring it out. Why we bother? Why you bother? This is why. You got it. Anyways, go ahead.
I ripped Howard. I think I called him a plug when I was drunk. He had a huge game, monster game, 3 TDs. A little bit of a mask on it though. I think he had 32 carries for under 120 yards. So it wasn't like he was ripping off huge runs, but he did have 3 TDs. So I take that back. And actually in the same game, I think I ripped Rawls as well, who had a big game as well. So I was over 2 in those calls there.
Yeah.
But Watt had a huge week. 41 points out of the defense and the kicker. That's 10 points per position, which is fantastic. Excuse me. And obviously, Dwayne Allen just put the nail in the coffin in that one.
Yeah, and again, to go over why I called it the apology game, I apologize to Powers already, and I'll apologize to Vanderwall. I got a bit fired up. Me and Vanderwall were negotiating a deal this year. He said he needed some time, and I have no patience, and I got pretty fired up, and pretty much since that time, I haven't heard one single peep out of Vanderwall from the block. So, Vanderwall, much apologies, bro. I get fired up. I'm passionate about fantasy.
Do you think that has anything to do with that?
I
Or do you
really
think
hope not.
it's V-Wall, man.
I really
It's
hope
V-Wall.
not.
V-Wall's he's a ghost sometimes.
No, V-Wall is like like a strong blanket, prison blanket, like fucking low thread count. So V-Wall, much props
That's
to
true.
you. Much props to you for 164.8 points this week. That was fantastic. I mean, I'm just looking at your scores right now. You got Rossberger, Rawls, Hilton. You were firing on all cylinders. Allen. He had Allen, and I was thinking when I was watching this game, I was just like, I wonder who's getting fucked over by Dwayne Allen
Yep.
right now. And then surely enough, it was Powers. So
Well, I made one notable V-Wall, and that's he needs like to carry on through the playoffs. He's going to need a few outwardly big scores from guys that you don't expect. I think I mentioned that earlier. Like he needs guys. He needs a Dwayne Allen to have 29 points.
You bet.
Travis Benjamin to have a big game, or Eli Rogers. He's going to need some of those guys to put up the big numbers because really, he's got Big Ben, he's got Thomas Rawls,
T.Y. Hilton.
And T.Y. Hilton.
And T.Y. Hilton had a great game last week. I was watching that for other purposes, and T.Y. Hilton had a great game, but you cannot rely on that man, T.Y. Hilton.
That's the thing, right?
He
could put up 30, and then he could put up 7 or hurt his leg and get the fuck out of there, whatever.
And he's out the box. Anyways, good job, Vanderwall. Way to move on. Powers, great season. I think you made some strides forward. I now know why you bother. And
fucking right.
Yeah, best of luck.
Nice trades from Powers this year.
Powers.
Okay, you've apologized enough.
All right.
Hey, he accepts. I accept on his behalf.
All right. Well, that's
okay, that's it for last week. So we got Mangold, Miracle, Hammer, Watt, B-Wall. Now you're taking on the big boys.
The big boys.
Time for the big dogs to come out. And I'm talking about Tupper. I'm talking about Cranny. Talking about yours truly and this guy right here.
The Eagles.
This is a big week. Divisional round. Cheers to that.
Gonna have to do some maintenance here pretty quickly here. I'll be leaving the picture for a second just to go right there. Anyways, go ahead, bro. Let's go. Who we start with?
Yeah, grab me 1, 2, please.
Yeah, you got it, bro.
We're gonna start with you. We're gonna go 12 versus 1. So this is a really interesting game. I'm going to hit this really quick, and then I'm going to give the floor to you because I'm sure you obviously have been very focused and have a lot to say about this game. I'm going to throw this down real quick on my behalf, and I got some big points here, and I have a bold prediction. So we got Winston in New Orleans, Riddick has Chicago, Murray is in KC. That's a scary proposition.
Shut down.
Dez, Giants, Kelsey, Oakland. I think he's gonna have a big game. He's gonna need to have a big game.
He will.
But I like these matchups. I like Riddick versus Chicago. I like Winston versus New Orleans. I love Kelce in Oakland. I think that Kelce's he's gonna have some magic. And then on your side, you've got a couple tough matchups, buddy.
Of course, yeah, I do. Well,
Bell and Brown in Buffalo, which I don't think Buffalo's got.
I think that's okay. I'll let you finish.
Okay, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
I know Buffalo doesn't have the best, statistical defense in the league, but Rex Ryan gets those boys pumped up to play in big games, and I think this is a big game. It's in Buffalo. I looked up the weather. There could be 2 to 4 inches of snow in Buffalo with a -3 Celsius temperature at game time.
That'd be on.
That's things could be slippery, things could be cold, there could be some fumbles. So it's a scary game right there, scary matchup. And then you got Brady versus Baltimore, which really, really is a scary matchup. Baltimore is elite, and it's I know it's in Foxborough, but it's gonna be cold there as well, with the chance of light snow. No Gronk, so there's some tough matchups there. Really quick, nothing else really stood out. White versus Baltimore, that could be Same thing. He could be. You never know with him though. He could catch 6 balls. You never know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my big question is, can the big boys produce against tough D's and bad weather conditions? No AJ prediction. I'll give it to you after. Okay, you go.
All right, well, I'll touch base on a couple of things. I'll just start at the top there. Tom Brady. You say Baltimore's defense. Baltimore's a defense that's known on stopping the run. Okay, they have a run defense.
They're also very good against pass.
Well,
Top 5.
Yeah.
Top 7, I'd say.
Top 7. Okay, so anyways, it's in Foxborough. It's Tom Brady. I'm confident. I actually think his projection at 24 is low. And I look at my overall projections, and I see, I'm projected pretty high in this game. I'm projected to win by, I think, 14 points or so. And I think, I think that projection is low. I think Brady has a huge game. I think he has a game plan, and I think they come out. And I feel really good about Brady. Le'Veon Bell. Here's the thing about Pittsburgh. You're playing against Buffalo. Rex has his guys all juiced up and stuff like that. Well, guess what? He should have his guys all juiced up last week and stuff like that. Nothing happened. Look what happened. The Raiders picked him apart. Crabtree had 20 points. And guess what? Brown's a bit better than Crabtree. Here's the thing about Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh guys. And this is what we're starting to know. When they're healthy, when they're rolling, it's their offense. What does Big Ben do? He goes back. He looks for Brown. Brown's not open. Guess what? He checks down to Le'Veon Bell. In a PPR league, Le'Veon Bell is the best back in the game, except for, him and David Johnson are battled back and forth, which is Krenzel's another beast that we'll have to deal with later on. You probably will. But I'm just saying, those 3 guys, I have all the faith in the world in Tom Brady. I have all the faith in the world in Le'Veon Bell. Will Brown have his biggest game of the season? Probably not. But at the same time, it's the Pittsburgh offense. It's these 2 guys is the Pittsburgh offense, and Brady obviously is the New England offense. James White, his 8.4 points. Baltimore's actually allowed the fewest points to running backs in all of fantasy football this year. So am I worried? Yeah, he's not going to get. I'm not worried because one reason is they're so strong against the run. Guess what they're going to be doing? Passing. Guess who's a pass catching receiver from New England? James White. Deion Lewis will take some targets away from him for sure, but I think that 8.4 is probably about 4 points too little. So I bump him up to 12.4. So what I'm kind of saying here is my projections. I think Brown's projections are a little bit high, but I think White makes up for it, and I think that I'm in a pretty good place in this game. I think I feel okay. I've had some harsh words for Kent in there, or the Sturgeon, or whatever we want to call him, and I think this is going to be a tough game. I actually think this game's going to be tougher than the game. If I were to win this game, I think this game will be a tougher matchup for me than the game I'll actually have next week.
What do you think about Demarius at Tennessee? 16.9.
Projection, I think, is 15.9.
Is it?
I believe it's 15.9. But regardless.
What I want to hear is
he needs it. He's due for a touchdown, and he needs a touchdown. Simeon's back, and I need Demarius. I need Demarius to be one. When AJ Green went down, and you guys will if anybody were ever run into my cell phone and get a hold of my cell phone, they would notice that the top 2 searches are Christmas carols and AJ Green's injury. Those are my top 2 searches. So I'm trying to get a status on him, but I need Demarius in AJ's absence to play kind of like he did a couple of years ago with Peyton Manning. And so I need him to be one of my big 4 guys. I need Witten to have a big game this game. I need Sean Lee to have a big game this game. I need some help. It's going to be interesting.
Well, it's not even that you need help, because the projections, like you said, I think if it was 14, I think that might even be before the home field advantage. I think it's 20. It's roughly 20 points is where they have it at. Mm-hmm. So it would be a big upset if he did pull it out. And I know people like the projections don't mean nothing. Well, they do, in the sense that they give you a sort of realistic median to sort of go by. A guy might have a big game like when they say 25 for Bell, it's so ridiculous that he's projected at 25, because 25 for any normal running back is a monster game.
Oh, huge.
For Bell, that's just every week.
The guy gets 8 to 7 receptions a game and runs for about 100 yards a game. His number one issue has been touchdowns this year. He had a little game. He had his first 3 games or 4 games, he had no touchdowns. In his next 3 games, he had 3 touchdowns. His last 2 games, he's had no touchdowns.
Well, even when he gets no touchdowns, it doesn't matter.
No, it's still 24-25 because he makes up for those with his catches. One thing I will say about this game is we're gonna have a really good understanding of what's going on come after tomorrow night. He has Murray and Kelsey going tomorrow, and then I'm gonna be closing out the week. I'm not so sure. I don't think his roster's set right now.
Yeah, I mean that's with all of these projections. This is just going off of yesterday.
I don't think his roster is completely set right now. I think he has a wide receiver he's going to swap out for another guy.
Matthews maybe because he's playing Denver.
I think Matthews is kind of he's trying to show some gamemanship, some bottom feeder Sturgeon stuff. But I think there's some other guys he can fill in there. I think he has Pitta on his bench as well, and there's he has Brandon LaFell who's battling injury right now. But long story short, and it has been a long story. Is I think that my boys will pull it through, and I think Ted Ginn Jr. is going to be a little bit if you look at his numbers, I think he'll be a wild card. I mean, Benjamin got banged up, his shoulders again banged up. He'll be in the game and stuff like that, but Ginn's been turned into easily their wide receiver too, and
it's San Diego. Okay, enough of that. What's your prediction? Give me a score.
I'm gonna take this one. 144 to 127.
Okay.
And the reason I say 127 is I think that Latavius Murray is going to struggle tomorrow against all cylinders, and which will be an issue with Fleece. I think Fleece is going to have a big game. I think he's gonna put up some numbers. He might go over his projections, but I think Murray goes a little bit under his projections. And then I guess his quarterback, Carousel, I just honestly think that I have a little bit of a better team than he does. He went, I think, 3-11. I went, 12-0 or whatever it was. And, 3-8 and get us 12-0. Come on. So, I wish him luck. All jokes aside, like I said, I think this will be a big game. I think this will be the toughest game I'll have up until including next week. So, anyways, I'll go with that.
All right.
I see your prediction there.
You see it. You've been looking at it. You couldn't stop looking at it.
And that it caught me half-step. You almost got kicked out of the house.
I have a bold prediction.
About to get kicked out of the house, boys.
In fact, I'll read it out to you. Upset! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Partly because I gotta be honest, I would like to see it. I don't want to have to face you later on. And partly because of the reasons we've explained earlier, I've talked about earlier. I feel like the matchups are in Kenton's favor and there could be some magic. I think Winston at 25 versus New Orleans, that could easily be 35 or 45.
But it could also easily be 11. Go ahead.
Hey, you never know. I got mangled at 149. Reggie, 147. Bitch. We'll see. Okay, let's get on to the next game here. Number 10, Parkering, 2016, at the Fist, number 2.
I call this game the Maple Ridge Equestrian Center event versus Churchill Downs. Anyways, carry on.
Russell's at Green Bay. The weather's not supposed to be too bad. Cold, but not too bad. Not a factor. Freeman's at LA. Hydes versus the Jets. So there's a couple of scary matchups for his running backs who he leans on.
Hyde versus the Jets is a tough goal.
And then Jordan Matthews is banged up. I don't know if he's going to play. He might not even be in there. Parker versus Arizona. I love, like I said last week, I love Devontae Parker. He's projected at 11. I think he could easily outdo that. But, I don't like these running back matchups. I got Graham that could hopefully cancel out a bit of Russell's production. But I do have some question marks for myself, obviously, this week. Drew Brees had a terrible game last week. He had 3 picks. Luckily, he was on the bye.
I hope he dies.
Can he bounce back after that game? Is he going to bounce back and have a big game versus Tampa Bay? I think so. I hope so. I think it's in Tampa Bay, but it doesn't really matter. But then Julio's real banged up. If Julio doesn't go, it'll probably be Tate. And then Lamar Miller. I just put Lamar Miller sucks? Question mark? Because I don't know. That's pretty much where I'm at right now with Lamar Miller.
I know.
Everyone else, I got a lot of depth. Not depth in a good way as far as it's all 15 points across the board projection. So
burn the tires.
It's it's just the way it is. I mean, let's be honest about it. I mean, it's Edelman, Nelson versus Seattle, though it's a little scary.
Yeah, about 7 points.
Ajayi, I love Ajayi.
Oh, you started him this week?
Yeah, I think so. Arizona's got a good run D, I think, though. But whatever. Ajayi, he does well against these teams with good run Ds, man. He's a tough runner. He had 12 carries for 61 yards against Baltimore last week. Yeah. But anyways,
12 carries for 61 yards. All right. That's all 5 yards a carry. That's not bad.
It's great. I mean, it's
against Baltimore. And they were down. It's that big. So yeah. So if they were actually
if it was a closer game, he would have got more carries, more yards
for sure. Okay.
Caught a few balls, but talk to me. What do you think? What do you got here?
Well, I look at Hammer's team, and we'll call him Hammer for now. And like I said, I had this discussion a couple weeks ago. I mean, he has some depth and stuff like that, but I mean, I look through his roster. Devontae Freeman, I guess he's a thoroughbred. I guess he has a bit of a handcuff on Coleman, who takes some goal line carries away from him.
And he's in LA this week, which is a good defense.
And I mean, Russell Wilson's had an off year this year. He's starting to get it together.
He's getting it back now.
He's getting it back. I know, good Seahawks fan. And then, but I just looked through his roster, and he has a bunch of show ponies. And that's why I said the equestrian center. Like if you want to take your girl for a ride on a horse and stuff like that, you give Gord a call and say, hey, can I roll on a couple of your players? But if you want to roll with the big dogs, the beast, you take him to Churchill Downs. And
you and your analogies.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. Churchill Downs versus Maple Ridge Equestrian Center. You can get a good lunch at Equestrian Center. You can make good money at Churchill Downs. So I'm not gonna hate here like you just did with me and Mango. I got you winning this game and winning this game big. I probably put you at 143 because I think you have some tough matchups. I think you got Jordy Nelson there. I got you at 143. Lamar Miller sucks also. And then I'm going to have Parkering all the way down to 116.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, because,
what's the projections for that game?
It's 162 to 128. So I got you a bit down, and I got him just a little bit down. But my thing is Jordan Matthews right now, for him, that's why I dropped him to 116. I'm not too sure about that. I think he's going to have to go into his depth, and I think he's going to end up pulling out a Vance McDonald. And Vance McDonald, the starting. Anyways, he's gonna pull. No. Vance McDonald is a viable tight end start, and the reason I was chuckling right there is because Pollock started Selleck there, like the backup tight end for the 49ers. Like Kaepernick is gonna find that guy a lot.
I think they completed 5 passes last week.
Did they?
Yeah, like 5 completions, five forward passes last week.
That's amazing. Anyways, and then Carlos Hyde against the Jets. I think Carlos Hyde against the Jets is going to have a rough go. Every running back against the Jets has a rough go. So I'm going to drop him to 116.
There's going to be 14 in the box in that game.
And exactly. The coach might be in the box. And then with you, I think I think Brees will have a bounce back game. I'm not sold on Lamar Miller. I think Jordy Nelson will be a bit slowed down by Seattle's defense because that will literally be one-on-one against Sherman, who has got burnt a bit this year. I think Edelman has a pretty solid game, and I think Julio Jones is going to start, but I think he's going to be on and off the field. It's turf toe. I mean,
if it's even
then
questionable, I'm going to go with Tate.
Yeah, well,
but if Julio's all systems go. I think even if they say that, right? I think he's going to have a.
Wait a second. Let me just check one.
But I mean, last game he was in and out, and he got 9 balls. I think for.
Yeah. Okay. So they're both playing in the afternoon slot. So you're gonna have some time to think about it. You're gonna have some time to collect some knowledge and stuff like that. Anyways, those are the score. I got you 143, 116, and I think you win that one handily. Again, it's Churchill Downs versus the Maple Ridge Equestrian Center.
I've got Fist 154. Parkering 2016 138. That's including the 5 points. Yeah, I got myself there. Let's move on. Number 9, Say What versus the number 3 seed, division winning the Lotto Corporation.
I said from the very start of this season, that this guy has a squad that could compete. I think he's actually, throughout the course of the season, he got Cooper back, and I think the Alshon Jeffrey trade was just devastating to him. I raped him on that, but at the same time, I have no quarterback throwing the ball to Marius Thomas. Anyways, he has a good squad. Carry on.
Well, carry on, man. You want to take the lead on this one, or you want me to go?
I mean, I'm looking at the projection. Oh, the projections. The projections are 150 to 118. It's Matt Ryan against Big Ben. I think Big Ben has a solid game. I mean, there's going to be some elements that you mentioned and stuff like that. Matt Ryan's going to be playing in Los Angeles, which there'd be minus elements. I think LA is kind of in a little bit of shambles. I mean, they just re-signed Jeff Fisher and the GM and stuff like that. So I'm sure the players are like, "What in the fuck is going on here? This guy's terrible."
They're gonna lay down,
and then yeah, exactly. Literally lay on the field. It's like, why is there 11 guys laying on the field right now?
They're all gonna kneel in the anthem, but it's not about black rights. It's about fucking why they re-signed Jeff Fisher.
They're probably gonna kneel fucking on 1st and 10. Anyways,
well, that's pretty much what they do, anyways.
Exactly. And anyways, you got Ezekiel against Thomas Rawls. There's good matchups there. So there's the top 2. You have some good matchups. All right, like as far as quarterback, running back, but then it gets kind of skewed against LaShawn McCoy's handcuff, Mike Giselle or Gizzle. Gisley, whatever.
That's how I say it. Gillisley.
I think that's how you say it.
Gillisley. I think so.
Yeah. And then you got Mike has T.Y. Hilton, who's a little bit inconsistent. Sterling Shepard, who can you never know with these guys. That's a big game in Dallas. And then Eli Rogers on Pitt, who's honestly, dude, he's not going to do anything for you. You've been playing him the last 5 or 6 weeks.
He had a couple big games, I think, earlier in the season.
Yeah, in the season, I know. He's waiting for another one. And then he has Dwayne Allen, who he got 3 touchdowns last week, and he's playing against Houston. You never know what's going to happen there. But, I mean, if you just look at kind of
the big picture.
You know what? These projections for this game, I think, are way out of whack. I think this game is a lot closer than the projections.
I don't.
You don't?
Well, I've got Mike doing better. I got Tupper. I'm going to just start with my prediction. I got Tupper to win in a boat race, 160. I think he's going to have a big week. Because Ryan I'll take out of it. He's projected at 26. This might be where he's at. Even, he might have no Julio. He's playing a good defense on the road. You expected big things from him. But Zeke's just a monster. It doesn't matter who he plays against.
20 to 24.
Shady, yeah. I like Shady this week. I got a feeling he's gonna get the ball a lot and he's gonna do some damage. And then I like Pryor versus Cincy. I like Cooper to catch balls because I think they're going to be down. I think KC's going to win this game, and I think Oakland's going to have to. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And then I like Ertz versus Washington. I like these matchups. They're kind of under the radar matchups. I don't know if Rodgers is going to be in the lineup. I made a note of that. I mean, he's in there as of yesterday, as of right now.
What does he have on his bench here going forward?
I don't think there's much.
Oh, there's not much at all. I mean, what's he doing? Anyways, yeah, he has, I guess, Travis Benjamin, if he's even alive, or Robert Woods. I think those guys are both injured. I think Benjamin might be not injured. But anyways, long story short is it will be a tough road to climb, but I'm looking at projections right now, 150 to 118. And
you like some of Mikey's matchups more than what they're showing on the projections?
Exactly. Well, I like Thomas Rawls versus Green Bay. I like Big Ben versus Buffalo. The weather might be a bit of condition, but I think he's gonna, he's projected at around 24 points, I believe 25. I think he might get towards 27. Uh-huh. Yeah, 27. He might get towards 27, and then Shepard, you never know. Sterling Shepard, you never know. It's going to be one of those games. Dallas is going to do their best to take Odell Beckham out of the game. Victor Cruz, I believe, is still injured. So I think, Shepard could become, a little bit of a a dark horse, and he's done that all year. Shepard's done that all year. Like he's taking touchdowns away from Odell Beckham. Beckham's not having a big year because guess what? They got another viable option right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that I think Vanderwall could keep this somewhat close, and I think this game will actually come down to being pretty interesting. They have no Monday nighters on there. This will be an interesting game come a Sunday afternoon. It looks like.
I did make a note that if Hilton has one of his trademark huge days, like 30 plus, or a couple of his no-name guys, excuse me, have big games, he needs it. He needs that to even be in this game, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But what do you got? What's the score?
I'm gonna go with 132 Vanderwall to 141 Tupper. I got Tupper winning the game. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think it's going to be a 9-point game. And I think it's going to come down to, if you look at that, I mean, it's just pure semantics, is that it's going to come down to Sterling Shepard, on...
he wishes he had Sterling Shepard.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So. It's going to come down to Sterling Shepard on Sunday Night Football being able to put up enough points for Vanderwall to win. I think he's going to fall a little bit short.
So you're projecting that it's almost close enough to say that home field might play a factor in this game.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, and then the last game on our docket, as we're only 41 minutes in. Not bad with the amount of we've got to analyze these games, man.
Well, we can't just sit here and just be like.
Can't do a half-assed job in the divisional round,
especially with the big dogs.
Especially when we're playing.
The Eagles are.
You could spend an hour on my game.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Let's do number 6, Rebuild, versus number 4. At number 4, Democracy is a Farce. This is a real interesting game. I believe it's very close projections. In fact, I think Sean is projected to win this game by a couple points.
Stop it.
And
he's projected to win this game by 1 point.
And I got another bold prediction for this one, actually.
Go ahead, man.
Okay, I'm gonna tackle this game here.
Shoot for the stars.
I love Miracle's matchups this week. I love Fitz in Miami. Miami, their secondary sucks. I said this last week. I can't remember who the player was. Well, it was Wallace. He didn't have a big game, but either way, it doesn't matter. I think Fitz is going to have a field day. I like Baldwin with Green Bay. I like Forte with San Francisco based on the fact that Bryce Petty is not going to remind me of Drew Brees.
And that's the number 32 ranked run defense in the league, just so you know.
Yeah, and even though they shut down my fucking Dolphins rushing attack when they played them, they've allowed like 169 rushing.
They didn't shut down Howard last week for 3 touchdowns.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
So Forte is going to be a huge factor in that offense now with Fitzpatrick sitting.
Yeah, good point.
Ingrid with Tampa Bay, I think he's going to have some points there. Tampa Bay is no world beater. And Staffy versus Chicago, 26. Yeah, he could double that against Chicago. It's at home, and then Macklin's back. Now this to me has the makings of a big week for Miracle.
Game of the week, yeah.
And I also I am a little leery of Democracy with his. He's got 2 playable quarterbacks in Bortles and Mariota. Bortles maybe not so much anymore.
If you play Bortles at this stage of the season, you gotta get kicked out of the
league. He just might. As of when I wrote this last night, he had Bortles in. He's struggling with the decision right now because Bortles plays Minnesota and Mariota has Denver.
Krebs, I don't know if you have like Wi-Fi or even internet connection, and like I don't know if this streams through your PlayStation or whatever, but if you start Bortles, you're dead to me, man. Like, not that I'm saying I want Miracle to lose or anything like that, but come on, bro.
You're saying he's gonna start Mariota versus Denver over Bortles. That's saying something about Bortles, man. What a fall!
Oh, I know.
Well, with regards to Krenzel, he doesn't. He's not able to watch the podcast. So what I usually do is I draw pictures on a pad, and then I mail it to him, and then he just goes like this, and he flips it like that, and you can see you can watch the podcast that way.
Oh,
what
a guy! That's a good.
I make a few notes, but other than that, I mean, I like some of his matchups. I like Crowder with Philly, Nuke with Indy. Hill is a crapshoot, but he's on a streak, man. This Tyreek Hill is a dynamic guy.
Dangerous.
And then Moncrief is obviously, to me, he's a touchdown dependent guy. If he gets a touchdown, he's going to have a decent game. If he doesn't, he doesn't catch a ton of balls. But I like Moncrief. But
he tends to get that touchdown, that little 3-yard touchdown always from the middle.
I think he's on a streak still. I don't know. He was.
He definitely got a touchdown last week. So he actually won a playoff game for a gentleman in my other league. Just with that one touchdown there, a little 3-yard shot over the middle. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, I did make a note. Bortles versus Mini or Mariota versus Denver. Currently, Bortles, which is ballsy as fuck. So, I mean, I don't know what he's going to do there. Either way, he's not. I mean, but Mariota's had a good year, man.
Mariota.
He puts up points.
Mobile quarterbacks can cause Denver a little bit of issue if. Well, you know what? I mean, with Cam Newton, Mariota's, you got to start Mariota.
I think he has made that change today.
He does, yeah. Mariota's on
there. And then David Johnson versus Miami. Again, they got, to me, I mean, I watch them every week. They got a couple nice names on the defensive line. Alonzo's having a decent year, but their linebackers suck, their secondary sucks, and their defensive line is not playing that well. So David Johnson's going to blow up. And so, I mean, this is going to be a high-scoring game. But I'm making a huge prediction on this one. I'm going to go Miracle with the matchups I laid out earlier. I think he's going to drop 173. And Crenny, I think I maybe have a bit of a low projection here. I had 144 written down. He might be in the 150s. Who knows? He's got a great, a great few big names on there. But with Mariota playing Denver, I don't see him putting a huge point total up. So I got him in the 140s. I got Miracle at 170.
Yeah.
Upset.
Yeah. I mean,
not really an upset.
I know, but I know what you're saying as far as seeding goes and stuff like that. The Mariota, and also I'd like to add Delaney Walker. Delaney Walker playing against Denver as well. I mean, you can say wide receivers against Denver don't do that well traditionally. Tight ends and running backs generally do. That being said, Mariota's a young quarterback going against a championship defense and stuff like that. So, I'm looking at this game now, and I was thinking, Democracy's going to smash him out, and I'm looking, you got DeAndre Hopkins, whose career has been ruined by Osweiler, but you got David Johnson in there, who, David Johnson, the guy does it all. Like I was at Save on Foods the other day, and he was bagging my groceries. The guy can do it all. And, I try.
You could drop 50 on Miami.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I'm gonna kind of. This is a good game, and I think this really does have game of the week written all over it. This game is gonna come down to what DeAndre Hopkins can do.
It's Indy too. Like,
well,
if he's gonna get a big game in him, this is the week.
And you know what? I just have no faith in Osweiler, and I have lots of faith in MVP candidate Matthew Stafford, and Mark Ingram. He's a question mark sometimes. Forte, this is a tough game. I'm gonna go on the record and say this game is gonna be. I'm gonna literally just go with the projections. I'm gonna say 147 Miracle to 146 Crenny.
Wow.
Like I'm literally gonna go with projections. I think Miracle has a little bit of a better defense. I think Crenny has a little bit more superior offensive weapons. I love Jameson Crowder. I think he's had a big second half of the season. This is a tough game, man. I'm just gonna go with the projections because I don't think I know any better. So.
It's so tough with defense. Like defense often plays a key factor in deciding a game.
Yeah.
Very often. Yeah. But you can't project a defense. I don't know when a linebacker is going to have 17 tackles. Yeah. Just other than the big names, it's impossible. That's why I didn't say anything about anybody's defense because who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think
who's going to have a pick six.
I think Miracle. I think Miracle has a shot to win that game. Actually,
you've predicted it.
Yeah, no, I think Miracle wins that game, and I think that Denver defense is going to cause problems, and I also think that DeAndre Hopkins is he's just screwed with his quarterback. So I'm going to go with Miracle. I'm going to stick with the 147, 146, and that's where we're at.
Okay, so we've got the same there. I obviously went against you here. We got the same. We got chalk except for the big upset with Kenton.
I should change my pick against you right now, but I'm not going to.
Hey, it's been a blast, buddy. I'm glad we kept this under an hour, 50 minutes. Here's the question of the week: how many Pure Cuts guys are going to watch this? For one, and once they see that's 50 minutes long, and two, how many guys are actually going to watch the whole thing? I think you can count on one hand how many guys are going to watch it the whole way.
Come on, boys.
But it's been a blast, brother. And thanks for having me over in the Money Pit.
Yeah, no problem. Money Pit welcomes Ben Mullen all the time. The Fist.
Awesome.
The Sophisticated podcast at the Money Pit.
Awesome.
First annual. All right, boys. Been a pleasure.
I hope that we didn't just do man hugs and talk about how good each other's teams were, Tupper, the whole time. But you got to understand, when your teams are as good as ours, you lie? You're gonna lie.
No. I think the Sturgeon's gonna smoke me out. His team is way better than I am. No, if you fly with the Eagles, you gotta talk like an eagle. Anyways, and if you're running horses at Churchill Downs, you ain't going to the equestrian center. Come on, man. What do you guys like exactly? You want us to lie? Come on now.
Okay. Anyways. All right. Sophisticated communications. Peace.
Peace, boys.